There we go. So, hi. This is Double Barrel Theater, the podcast interview show, and with us is our guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I am Lydia Bender. Hello.
Okay, so uh, Lydia is one of two things that I could say unquestioningly. She's a fan of sumo wrestling and she loves horror movies.
Those
Uh,
are both true.
okay, because I'm uh, eyeballing your apartment right now, and I am seeing a Leatherface pillow, if I'm not mistaken. Or is that a
This?
Book of the Dead?
This?
I don't know. Is that a Leatherface pillow? I can only see the
This is
top of
Bill
it.
Murray.
Son of a bitch! I thought that was Leatherface from the top down.
Nope, he's just a very stylized Bill Murray. I actually don't have a horror pillow. I just
Well, you
have a
have the spider
walking.
web behind you, but I don't
I
know if that
do.
counts.
I have like a Walking Dead governor pillow. Is that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that counts.
Nope, that counts. So,
And a bunch of vampire stakes up here.
all right. I thought that was a sword at first.
Nope, they're wooden stakes.
Okay. So, how did you like the Walking Dead? Did you jump off the train at any point, or you riding
Uh,
that one out?
So I'm caught up with the main show. I just saw the finale maybe a few days after they aired it finally. I definitely dropped off of it used to be I have to go home and watch it live. I don't want spoilers. I need to know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Uh that fell away for sure, and it would, I'd watch it when I would get around to it. But it's still, the makeup's still wonderful, and there's still it's still like, wow, there's a horror show on TV.
I, I I never hated it for the production value. Like like that one, like they definitely put their best foot forward, and as the show went on, like things got big. They literally bought a town. So
Yeah.
like that to me, like, but what was it for you? Like, what was your turning point?
Um, you know, it wasn't like a hard turning point. Like I know some people like a season ended and they said I'm not going to come back. I think for me, um when Negan showed up and that just really dragged on, cuz I loved the governor arc, hence the pillow.
Mm-hmm.
Um Terminus, I actually wish Terminus was a little longer cuz cannibals are creepy. That I would have liked maybe like another episode or two of that. Um, yeah, the whole Saviors arc was really long for me. It just and then I feel like that's where characters really, certain characters had like impossible plot armor. Like everybody talks like the Glen under the dumpster scene. Like, are you kidding me? Um, so it was like a slow decline. It wasn't like an immediate. This is it for me. I'm gonna just not care.
The my favorite part of the Terminus arc was Tainted Meat, because one of my favorite things about The Walking Dead was that it had actors from shows that I really liked in it, so it was just fun to see them. Oh, this person can act, okay. Because Tainted Meat was Everybody Hates Chris. I'm, I can't think of the guy's name, unfortunately, because I'm always going to refer to him as young Chris Rock. But the
Wasn't that
it was
Noah though?
maybe, I can't think of his
Who's the
character
guy?
name or his real name.
Noah had the awesome, really sad death in the what are
The
those called?
the Turning Door.
Yes. It's like,
Yep,
I don't go outside anymore. What is that called? Um oh, that was heartbreaking.
that was
Uh
heartbreaking because it played into another character's arc as well, because the guy could have definitely done a better job of not letting him get sucked in.
that was another one where it's like I think this could have gone differently, but they really wanted it. And it was a great, really like horrifying scene.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like I said, the show needs, and I just hate how they would bring in these kind of like side characters and then they would just kill them off, and then all the main characters would do these ridiculous things. They're totally fine and all this stuff. And I know that like nobody's probably gonna watch this show with like a high turnover for main characters, but you still want to feel like they're in danger more. Um, and that's they lost it.
Well, the Walking Dead's one of those shows where It's like, oh, this character is going to be in another show that was just cast. Oh, that's not a good sign for the Walking Dead version. I mean,
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Are you caught up with it?
no, because the I kind of checked out of all of them when with Fear the Walking Dead, it was like uh, second season, I think. I watched that one for the most part, and then uh, I, I saw a promo for season three. I was like, how the hell they pulled that off? They started on a boat, and now they're going with season no with Fear the Walking Dead. It was when they show up to the city and they get shot. I want to say it was a finale.
Fear the Walking Dead made me really sad because I thought we were because in the original Walking Dead, Rick Grimes wakes up, all the initial stuff aside from some flashbacks is gone. You don't get to see it. I
Hmm.
thought that's what Fear was gonna do, but
I
then
thought so too.
they skipped over it just as fast. And then I'm like, okay, that sucks. Okay, but now they're on a boat. You know what? That's really cool. This could be different. And
Hmm.
then Alicia, whatever, came in like they fucked up the boat and they were not on a boat anymore. Now it's the same show
You
but
know
with
what I
different
wanted
actors.
from Fear the most, and this is when I knew I was going to be really disappointed because it was pretty good up until this point. When they led up to the boat, and the second they get on the boat, um, they have Fear the Walking or Zombie Apocalypse Pirates. Zombie Apocalypse Pirates, where everybody's on the ocean, like trying to because let's face it, as a survival horror, uh, there's limited resources on the ocean. Everyone has to either go to land or they have to find like a cruise ship that is stuck in the middle of the ocean. And we got that for 2 episodes, maybe three. And I was just like, oh man, now we're going like it just went right into kind of the kind of territory that the main show was in. So
Yeah.
you're not wrong.
And then there's the
But
new like the other one. I don't know if the other one started. It probably did Beyond the Walking Dead. I don't know that I'm gonna watch that or not.
if they give us like uh, you read Max Brooks's it wasn't World War Z, but it was like a graphic novel companion, like the
Probably not.
history of zombie outbreaks, where it was like a zombie outbreak in prehistoric times, where it ends up on like a cave drawing.
Was
I
it
can't.
was it cave people were the zombies or was it like zombie dinosaurs?
That was one of them. It was one of the stories. So it was like
Hmm.
different time periods. I actually want to track that book down because I read it, put it down, and then like I don't think I'm friends with that person anymore. But it's just like I want to track that one down. But if you give me different outbreaks over the world, or even different situations, like oh, this country really handled it well. Which, by the way, if you're in the writing room for Beyond the Walking Dead or whatever it's called, uh, you have a lot of current topics and inspiration to draw from. Which is like, oh, this country handled it really well. This country didn't. And if
We've
you can,
seen some different ways people panic. Yeah.
mhm. So if they can give us that, where it's just not the same situations over and over again, and because to me, Walking Dead, the comic, was always about civilization breaking down and reforming, because it would go from like people, like individuals, to forming groups, to forming nomadic groups, to forming civilizations, like small towns, to communities, and then like the last issue is like, oh, we're pretty much back to what we were before, just a little bit different.
Yeah, we're just starting over again.
So I don't know. So do you want to talk horror first, or do you want to talk sumo first?
Up to you.
Okay, so the only thing I've ever seen of sumo is uh, MTV Real Life. I'm a sumo wrestler,
I
which,
don't think I knew that existed.
well, it was one episode. It was a part of MTV's Real Life series, and it followed. this young guy who's trying to like advance in his stable, because I know they're called stables. And
Was it a Japanese guy or
yep.
American? Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And uh, the the dude was trying to I'm going to use the term raise his rank.
Yeah.
I have,
Yeah. No.
okay,
That's good.
so okay, raise his rank, and so that he could have like a nice cushy job teaching like lower rank guys. So he wasn't trying to be a general or anything, but he was trying to be
Mm-hmm.
like a sergeant or something.
So yeah, so kind of what happens is I mean everybody wants to be the best, right? Like in sumo there can be three people at the top. It doesn't have to be one person. They're called yokozuna and it's
Ah, do
what
that.
yep, aha.
Hmm.
Quite difficult to get to. But even if you don't have to be the best to continue your like sumo uh career, I guess, because what happens is you're a wrestler. They call them rikishi, and
Hmm.
you get to you go through all the tournaments and you practice every day, and maybe you're injured or you're just not doing as well as you want to do, and you can retire. And once you retire is when you can potentially become oyakata. You can own one of the stables, and you can be teach them that way, or you can be somewhere else within the sumo association. But if you weren't previously a sumo wrestler, you can't do that. So um, some of the guys that are teaching current Rikishi maybe weren't the best guys ever, but I mean they still had to get to a certain point,
Hmm.
you know. Um, it's a lot of work. I've watched. I don't really. I have my Japanese is like I wouldn't even call it beginner. It's less than beginner. I know certain words and phrases, but I've watched some documents and I've actually gone to see a tournament in Japan live, and they work so hard all day,
Oh, I can
every day.
imagine.
I mean, that's all they do. And even for them, they live in the stable. Like you live there, you work there until you get to a certain rank, and then you're allowed to live on your own.
Okay, so I'm not. I haven't. I'm not fortunate enough to have been to Japan to like. That's on my bucket list. The thing I've always heard about like Japanese crowds at say a wrestling event is that they're super polite and quiet. And like when someone like now this is wrestling. I don't know how people operate in a sumo arena. Is it similar where it's just like, oh, okay, all right, he pulled a move, like clap, sort of, or is it loud, boisterous, like NFL American? Because
I mean, it's maybe so I started off obviously I like watching, recordings of it on YouTube or wherever I would watch or NHK or wherever I would watch it. And if you watch it that way, it does sound like you hear, people yell if there's an upset and there's clapping, and every now and then you'll hear like a child or a woman or sometimes a man like yell like scream out somebody's name. And so I kind of had that same impression that it would be a little more subdued. And when I went, people get loud. I mean, people there, they're drinking beer and sake and they have
okay,
snacks. They're not, no one's yelling anything like mean. There's no one's like constantly screaming. There's
oh, so
no,
it's not like going to a New York Giants game then.
yeah, there's no, you're not singing songs in between matches. There's not that. It is still very like, you're respecting the people around you and the work the wrestlers and all the other people involved in the sumo tournament are doing. But it is like there's energy there. It's very exciting.
Right now, you mentioned that you started by watching YouTube videos. Now, were you just scrolling through YouTube, or like were you like watching cat videos, and then it's like, oh, you might like this, and like how'd you get involved, interested?
It actually, so I used to have this channel actually on my part of my TV package called NHK, which is kind of like I
The
guess
national broadcasting from
yeah,
Japan.
yeah, it's like considered to be like PBS or whatever here, which shows sumo, and they had NHK World, which is English speaking programming, and they would do highlights. So it would be so a sumo tournament starts at like oh gosh, I forget. Like let's say like 9 or 10 in the morning, and it goes till like 6 p.m. Like it's all day,
Mm.
and it's for 15 days. So it's all day for 15 days. So NHK World would do these highlight shows where they'd be 23 minutes. So you would just see literally the highlights, the big bouts of the day, or any upsets. And then it was, okay, well, you want to see more than that. And there's no other way to do it but going on YouTube and searching that stuff. And then realizing, oh my God, this is an all day thing. Like people sit here for hours watching this because it's not just the matches. There's a lot of ceremony to it. There's all these things that happen in between, like division ranks,
I
and
know one of these. Which one is throwing the salt around the ring?
so before every single bout, each Rikishi does that, and it's to purify the ring. And so some of them like will grab. There's this one guy that has like this grabs like a mountain and tosses it, and some just do like a little bit. But every single one does it before they fight.
Okay, all right. So what's some of the other ceremonies then? Because I can only imagine like because sumo is one of those sports that's been around a while. So like uh like baseball has like unwritten rules from like 1860, but like sumo I can only imagine being like like what is it, hundreds of years old?
Yeah, probably. Actually, yeah, it's very very old. Like
Very
it's
old.
yes, very old to the point that like there's like a bit of like Yokozuna didn't even always exist. It used to be the highest rank used to be Ozeki, which I mean still exists now, but it's below Yokozuna. So even like the original highest rank sumo wrestler wasn't even Yokozuna back then, and it's like dates back. I should know this, but I don't because I'm bad with dates. Very
Well,
very
you're
old.
not an expert, you're just a fan. So like don't ask me like when football started because uh I can't tell you.
Oh, that was my next question. Okay. Um, yeah, so I mean, I believe it used to be like kind of like for the gods. It was like, because there's actually in the doyo, which is the like dirt clay thing, the platform that they build, which didn't always used to be a platform, but it is now. I think it helps sight people to see it. It used to just be ground level. There's actually stuff buried inside of it that are like offerings. It's like so every single tournament they rebuild this doyo. They take it all down and they rebuild it, and they have all these really cool tools, um, which I love. I've watched a couple times on like different like YouTube clips and stuff because it's just really fascinating. Like all these different things that they have. So they bury the stuff in it, and there's like a ring opening ceremony, um, and then there's this thing called the doyo iri, which you will see like Yokozuna do. My favorite Yokozuna who retired 2 years ago now maybe. Like I loved his. He was a very skilled, like very agile um rikishi. So he it's where it's what I think a lot of Westerners see where they lift their leg up really high.
Hmm.
Um, and they bring it back down. It's kind of like a stamping motion. Some are definitely better at it than others, in my opinion. And it's kind of there's two different ones, and I can't remember the names of right now. But it's like showing they don't have anything in their hands. That's also why they wear the mawashi. It's like there's nothing, there's no weapons, there's no anything. It's just these two men fighting.
Hmm.
Um, and I just lost my train of thought talking about Doyo Yuri.
So okay, I'm I I need parallels to compare it to because the way it sounds is sumo is a way of life over there. Like it's like if you make it, it's a lifer pursuit, sort of, right?
Yeah, so it's a lot of guys they retire like old for Rikshi is like mid 30s is pretty old. A lot of them don't eat. A lot of them like early 30s they might retire. Like 36 is like wow.
Well, you're fighting a dude. Like how many times? Like, 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 how much is like a performance? Because like in America we have seasons.
Yeah,
But
so there's 6 actual tournaments a year. It's every other month,
hmm.
and in theory you're supposed each Rikishi fights once a day for 15 days for a tournament. So in about might only last 10 seconds. Like a 2-minute bout is really, really long. Um, but it's these two guys, which I know a lot of people like to make fun of them, of being like, oh, fat guys in diapers. Yeah, a lot of them are like 6'2", some are 6'4". They weigh an incredible amount, and they are muscle.
Yeah.
They are, if
Hmm.
you see them, they can do the splits, they can do all these things. I can't do that.
I want to
Um,
say it's like the equivalent of Japanese World's Strongest Man. It's just
kind
that
of,
instead of lifting refrigerators, they just like go against each other.
kinda. So it's like it's these big guys that clash into each other that are still sometimes they just push each other off of the doyo, which then they fall down, which is not it's not like a small fall, but some of them they're still doing like arm bars and leg picks and these things that you would see in like an MMA, you
Okay,
know?
1 second. Yeah, I did. Sort of, yeah. I'm just talking to a friend. Sorry about that.
No problem.
The little things. All right. So the how do you win in it? Because I would. Is it as simple? Because heard I've read enough manga over a lifetime that like certain things that I pick up on, like if you get into a certain hold, or if you fall down, or if you get pushed out of the ring, I would think are those the main ways, or
It's I think that's part of what drew me in is that, you know, certain sports are very confusing to me, like trying to watch soccer and like figure out that guy's offsides. I'm like, there's a million people to pay attention to. How did you see that? Versus in sumo, it's literally if something besides the bottom of their foot touches the dirt. It could be a hand, it could be anything.
uh
Or if they fall outside of the actual circle. So it could be again, they just might just put their foot out and they're out, or they could obviously if they go flying out of it, then they're out. So you can
okay.
either that's why you see guys like some of them just want to push. Some dudes are just focused on pushing the other one out, and some are trying to do like the arm throws and the that kind of stuff.
Okay, cause yeah, I forget what book I was reading, but like there was this one thing. It was like it was a match. It was just, you should have used sumo rolls or whatever. Because like did you ever read Baki, the grappler?
Oh,
Okay, if you ever want a book that's going to be dedicated primarily to fighting, like the joy of fighting, that doesn't necessarily have to make sense. It's not a very plot driven narrative.
okay,
Uh, but it's on like season 3 is on Netflix right now, and it's not bad.
okay.
Like I watched some of the old stuff on YouTube, and I recommend that one first.
Oh, it's not all on Netflix.
Nope.
I
And
hate
plus
that.
Baki's, well, it's I want to say they had like 10 or 20 years, like between seasons.
Oh,
So like
that makes sense.
the first OVA came out in '94. It it just did like the first arc, and then the series came out like in the early 2000s, and then uh, just recently, the past 3 years, Netflix did like a like a I'm gonna say 3D anime, but it like don't think of like Berserk or whatever. It was more uh, like there's some 2D in there, but it's like the action is definitely very 3D.
Okay.
So and it's just fighting for the sake of fighting. It's like they want to have this fight versus this fight. They want to have this style versus this style, and uh, like the certain arcs are definitely better than others. So it's a very uneven, and the I actually wish Keanu Reeves would take the plot from one of the arcs and apply it to John Wick,
Oh,
because
wow.
the concept of like just five guys, like the five death row inmates that want to fight, that to quote the guys, they all want to taste defeat. But if you just had like five guys that are just in life in prison from the organizations that are the top guys for that they have, that are like, we can't control them, but we put them in prison, so we're like giving them their freedom if they kill you. Like to like, and just like the opportunity to have like 5 actors or whatever that you wouldn't think of, or can you imagine like Nicolas Cage as one of those guys just trying to kill Keanu Reeves?
I would watch that.
I would watch it too. That's why I'm hoping that me speaking it out into the universe makes it a reality.
Sometimes that works.
Well, if someone's watching this, I hope they steal that idea. Like, they'll know and I'll know, and then I'll just smile about it because no one's ever going to believe me, but I will get what I want.
Yeah, and that's all you need, right? It's like, oh, it happened. I don't even care who takes credit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, trust me, I've learned the secret of happiness is not like getting what you're owed, but not caring about like fame.
Yeah.
Like your guy right there, Bill Murray said, people want to be rich and famous, but they should really try being rich first and then see if they want the fame. And I completely agree with that.
Yeah, fame is definitely not something I think I've ever looked for. It's sounds like nothing but exhaustion, like extra exhaustion. That I mean,
I would
I'm also an introvert, so like there's that.
I want the amount of fame that gets you like a Kickstarter, like your 1,000 people that'll we want your book, we're fans of yours. That's the kind of fame I want. Like 1,000 people that are willing to put $20 down to whatever I'm trying to do.
Right,
Like I don't
they trust your ability in the projects you're doing, but they're not hounding you at the grocery store.
I don't want that Justin Bieber like your life under a microscope fame. I don't want that Kanye West drives you crazy fame. No thanks.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know if anyone really wants that. I think some people say they want that just because it sounds good. You know what I mean? Like it's a big thing. It sounds like really shiny, but I don't know if they like in their heart want that.
Well, I find that like there's a couple of people that like they don't necessarily strive for it, but they want to be at the top, and uh, I think they accept that it comes with it.
Oh, that could be. I hadn't thought about that.
Just be like there's I don't know, like if you want to be a rock star, like like not just a musician that plays in, like you want to be a rock star, and like you
That's
want to have
part of it.
you want this sold out stadium. Well, if you're going to try and sell out a stadium, then you have to have enough people that are willing to come and try to fill up that stadium. So, like, are you talking about one stadium? You're talking about like an entire nation of stadiums. So, because I follow comedians and I follow musicians to a point. Like, the amount of music I listen to is horrendous, just horrendous. Like, occasionally I hear a new song like that wasn't given to me or whatever. It's like,
Right.
uh, uh, like, this is cool. I got to check out like more of these people, and then I check them out, and it's like, oh, okay, this exists, perfect. So, anyway, well, let's switch gears to horror.
Okay.
All right, give me a movie that you would recommend to people that don't know horror, and like give them like people that have never watched a horror movie a reason to like the genre, and then give me one that's your absolute favorite, whether or not people actually enjoy it. Anybody but you enjoys it. Like help me out here.
Okay. So I mean, I can give you easily two that are if people are really into horror, they'll know these, but if you're not, if you're kind of someone that like, a lot of people, they know what Friday the 13th is, they know what Halloween is, even if they haven't seen it, they like people will know Jason, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Two movies that are a little more on the sleeper level but are still fantastic movies are Castle Freak, which I believe is from the 90s, and then Midnight Meat Train, which is from maybe the mid 2000s.
Yeah, with
Bradley Cooper.
that was Bradley Cooper.
Yeah,
Well, there's this. Remember that one guy that looked like Bradley Cooper but wasn't Bradley Cooper? He was in the Hulk opposite Eric Bana.
I think so.
Like I always get I I always think to myself, if that guy had just stuck around for a little bit longer and made better decisions, like he would have had the same look and probably not the same personality because I
There
think
can
Bradley
be only
Cooper,
one.
yeah, but I think his name started with Justin whatever. But the anyway, I saw the trailer to because Vinny Jones was the killer, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like it was just one, and Clive Barker directed it, right?
Yeah, I think so. That one, from what I understand,
Or was it a Korean director? I'm just,
nope,
it
nope.
was Clive Barker,
Yeah,
or was
it
it
was
based on a?
it was meant to be like a big, but like go to theaters. It was meant to have like a national release, and I think that he or somehow, production studio drama, and they said we're not going to, and so it had a super limited release slash like straight to video at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw it in a movie theater that had only one working speaker. It was like a dollar theater, but the movie just came out. But it wasn't. I couldn't see it anywhere else.
Hold
It
up,
was a
hold up, hold up. You
what?
just said Dollar Theater.
Yeah,
Where are those?
nowhere anymore.
I was like, they existed? Like, did you go back in time to when like tickets were $1?
That wasn't that. Yeah, they existed.
I'm used to spending a small fortune. Like the movie theaters trained me to like just like, all right, here's your ticket, here's your popcorn. We'll take half your fortune now.
Yeah, I mean dollar theaters. I mean they usually only had like they were super small. They weren't the best. And they usually showed older movies, at least like from my experience, but there was this one that would get these like I guess indie, even though that was an indie film, but it would get like smaller films in it. Yeah, it was just a dollar. Like I said, it had like one working speaker, and it would be coming from like the left. So it was kind of like, how much do you want to see it? But it's a dollar, so you go see it.
Okay, well, so okay, the, those are the intro ones, or was that your favorite one?
Those are just really good like sleeper ones. But I have to have one favorite. Um, I mean the one that I will love forever, and part of it is just because I think it's one of the first ones I owned, like back on VHS, was I love Halloween 2 a lot. It's not the best movie, but it's definitely something that like I will defend until I die.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, obviously the first one's amazing. You can't have the second one without the first one. I think part of it for me is it's in a hospital, and hospital settings are always creepy. Uh, so that's like a personal thing of just that having that like jolt of the good atmosphere.
the okay, so this is based off my recollection because I have seen both of them. Halloween one was like the slow build up in the sense that like you have uh, like the first 5 minutes, which lets you know this is Michael Myers young, this is what he does. Then fast forward to high school age for Laurie, which I believe Jamie Lee Curtis's name was Laurie. All
Hmm.
right, and the like she's being stalked, but her friends keep disappearing that she's talking to until uh, they're in the house, and that's when Michael Myers makes his move. And uh, after it's a very simple dynamic because it's Michael Myers versus Jamie Lee Curtis for like 20 minutes, and like I forget how she gets away, but
So the reason I really like one and two is really cool because it's basically one long movie. The second one
mhm,
picks up literally where the first one
exactly.
stops. There is no time jump. It's the
There's no
same
build up
night.
anymore.
Yep.
It's like it's right back in the action. Like the if you like the last third of the first movie, you're gonna love all this.
Yep, just keep going into it and like in thinking about how I think it is really more impactful if you do watch them back to back that way because it's not just, oh, this girl's in the hospital. It's like, look at what she just went through, and now this is happening where she still is. She is exhausted and terrified, and no, like nowhere is safe. She's been in multiple houses, and she's seen the police, and she's, like all like her, she's been saved, but she's not saved. And it's not a lot of other horror series. do the thing where there's the final girl, and then maybe the next one 5 years later, the final girl's dealing with the thing again. Well, this is like I said, the same freaking night. This is like a really bad night for her.
Is there any stranger franchise in horror than the Halloween series? Because first two are good. Third one is good, but it's not Michael Myers.
Yeah, I
Like,
don't consider it part of the.
but like, did you? There's a movie starring the dude from Downtown Abbey.
I have not
That
watched that.
Well, there's a couple of them. One is The Apostle, which I highly recommend because if you like The Raid and you like horror movies, it's like a horror movie done by the guy who did The Raid.
Okay.
And that's The Apostle. But there's also, I want to say, it's damn it, it's like The House Guest, or not The House Guest, but it's like um, the so it's a nod to Halloween 3 and The Terminator in this at the same time. Dan Stevens, or Dan, is it Dan Stevens? Anyway, the guy from Downtown Abbey, he's also in Legion. He's a really good actor. He was in Beauty and the Beast. He is this war buddy of these two kids and this family's deceased son.
Oh, it's just called The
So
Guest. Yep, yep.
The Guest, yeah. So
That's a killer
yeah, you've seen
soundtrack.
it. Well, it's also like I was watching Red Letter Media, and the director for or the writer for The Guest like said two of my favorite movies growing up were the Halloween 3 and the Terminator, and he just did these nods like to like this repeated imagery of Halloween 3, and obviously the guy, they didn't show him as a machine, but like they just imagined if it was a low budget, didn't have to show any things if he was really a cyborg. Uh, so
Yeah, that's a
and
good movie.
it you know what, my next point was going to be this: is there any good mainstream horror anymore? Because I feel uh, like the more corporate studio structure there is in making movies, the less likely you're going to get that like anything they made in the 70s or the 80s in the horror genre, you're never going to get in like unless like Christopher Nolan decides he's going to do a horror movie next, because it's like, oh, Chris, you've done everything with time. You've gone forwards, you've gone backwards, you've slowed things down, you played with time so much. How are you going to do it next? I was like, all right, I'll do a horror movie. It's something, and that's the only way they're going to let something like that fly.
Well, are you define mainstream like in nationwide theaters, or mainstream like like celebrities in it, or
Well, okay, so uh, as a genre, the we've gotten for mainstream, well, what I consider mainstream, we've gotten the Insidious movies, the
Mhm.
Annabelle stuff, Paranormal Activity, which I think started it all. Uh, like that one married couple that's been capturing ghosts, that they've been in every horror movie for like
uh I would say The Conjuring. Yeah, The Conjuring was the one with the Warrens that's actually back, like also tied in with Amityville, all the whole Amityville stuff.
it
With
was
then with yeah.
they were portrayed in Amityville. They were
Mhm.
portrayed in Poltergeist. They were portrayed in all
They're in
the
Poltergeist?
yeah, because the two ghost experts were based on them, wasn't it?
That makes sense. I just always think about Tangina, but maybe you're right.
Well, I I might be wrong about Poltergeist, but I like if I had to bet money on it, I would bet money on that. So that's how confident I am in that.
Okay.
Okay, so because every horror movie I've ever heard recommended is a movie I've never heard of, and like so there's something to be said for like them not getting nationwide releases, but it's also uh, a lot of horror movies go like to straight to video, and uh, the ones that go straight to video are either like cheap. We want to make our money real quick, so we made a horror movie. But oh, you know how I know horror is dead? Every time someone takes a break from the TV show that they're on, like I think it was Dark Water that had Kiefer Sutherland in it. Uh, the he was doing 24 at the time, and it was him and one famous kid or whatever. So like that was the two actors that kind of got it greenlit, and it was just universally everyone was like, "It's
Wait, the
not scary."
movie Dark Water?
No, it wasn't.
Was it Dark?
There
That
were
was Jennifer Connelly.
well, I know that was Jennifer Connelly, but hold on, let me look this up just because that's gonna drive me nuts because I threw it out there. Kiefer Sutherland. Okay.
Dark City.
Movies? No, not Dark City was good. Come on now. Uh, there was a horror movie that he was in, not The Lost Boys, not 24,
That's
Stand
where I was going next.
Fugitive, Flatliners, Three Musketeers, Time to Kill, Touch, Pompeii. Not Dark City. No, damn it. Not Taking Lives. Jesus. Maybe The Vanishing, but I don't think Mirrors. Wait, was it Mirrors? Jesus Christ.
I don't think I know that one. Not the one where he's doing like the. Oh, that's not. Is that Kiefer? No.
Okay, I want to say it was Mirrors because it came out in 2008, and the description is: in a bid to pull his shattered life back together, troubled ex-cop Ben Carson takes a job as a security guard at a burned-out ruins of a once prosperous department store. As Ben patrols the charred hallways, he begins to see horrifying images in the ornate mayor's head still adorn the walls. Ben soon realizes that a malevolent force is using the mayor's to gain entrance into the world, threatening the lives of his wife, Paula Patton, and his children. And the cast was, if there's a child actor that was big 12 years ago, then I know it's this one. Amy Smart, uh, Cameron Boyce. Yeah, it had to have been. Which shit, Cameron Boyce isn't even alive anymore, right?
I don't know. I don't know this movie at all.
Yep, it was that one. That's how bad it was. It was a horror movie that you don't know about. It was released nationwide. It followed all the rules of a bad movie. It had a young child star. It had a guy that was in the middle of a TV show, and like they put enough money into it that it would be like a respectable budget. But I don't think they put enough money into it then.
I
It
think.
would.
See, okay, so I totally understand where you're coming from, and I know that that can be a formula for disaster, but I don't know that it always is. Because one, there's actually a lot of great indie horror. Like this year there was no Brooklyn Horror Fest, there was no Tribeca, there was no there's New York Horror Fest. Like all that's dead. I mean, they tried to do an online thing and it was okay-ish. Um, but I've seen a lot of great like indie, like like I almost hate to call them small budget because they look fantastic. It still exists. It just doesn't have the backing of a major studio. But then there's also, like there's been like some gems throughout. I hate that term gems, but I just said it throughout time. Like, okay, so The Conjuring was a while ago. It Follows. Not enough people have seen It Follows, even though I think that was released everywhere. As far as I know, that one
Yeah, that was
was
like.
great.
But I feel like those are like the Fox searchlights of horror. Like the
Maybe. Or like I liked, what about Mandy? Does Mandy count? That's a Nicolas Cage film that was like, what am I watching? Oh my God. Like it was like a sound.
I don't
Uh,
think I don't think of Mandy as a horror movie, to be honest with you.
what do you see it as?
It's horror elements, but it's literally a guy on an acid trip fighting to get his girlfriend back, and uh, it's it's not an action movie, but it's an action movie through a horror lens. If that makes any sense.
It does, but I think that that's kind of always been in the genre. Even if something like you have like Last House on the Left, there's no paranormal anything. It's just a really terrible situation. Or like a lot of for a while there, I feel like every other horror movie that came out was like Home Invasion, which it was just it didn't to me feel horror. It was just
I don't know if I can put that on just horror, but I feel like every time something is big, there is a series of echoing knockoffs, and occasionally one of them is pretty good because if you ask like a good director and a good writer to come up with a knockoff, uh, they'll do a good job of like it's obvious that they lifted the idea, but they're so smooth about it that it was like, oh no, don't worry about it. It when Scream happened, it kicked off so many slasher movies all over the place. But then you get like I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is sort of Scream, but it's not, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, and you have Urban Legend.
That
Which,
that that was the one I was going to bring up because uh, like no one talks about Urban Legend as much as I'd like to have it in the conversation, but the uh, late '90s, early 2000s was really good for horror movies.
it was fun.
Uh,
It was all fun.
mhm. I feel well. I was watching a couple years ago I think it was on Chiller. Like I don't know if you get that channel, but
I didn't know it still existed.
I think it still exists. It might have become Robert Rodriguez's El Rey network, but I'm not entirely sure of that.
Yeah, I know what Chiller is though. Yeah, that was awesome.
Well, they had like a top 10 movies of the decade, and I was like, oh, it's pretty much every mainstream studio release, but Final Destination, The Ring, uh, 30 Days a Night, which 30 Days a Night wasn't the best movie, and but it was the comic, and it was also I don't even know if it was the comic entirely, but because I've never read the comic, but it was just like everyone was talking about, oh, this is a great concept. I was like, yeah, it's a great concept, but could someone have executed it goddamn a little bit better?
I mean, vampires are always very difficult for me because I find them kind of boring. So anytime someone can do something different with them, it's like, yeah, I'll watch that. And it's still a vampire's never gonna scare me. It just isn't just not doing it for my brain to go, oh no. But it's sometimes you can have like a fun story with them.
I feel like the last time I saw a really good vampire movie, it was Blade 2.
With Norman Reedus. Yeah.
With Norman Reedus, directed by Guillermo del Toro. So,
I mean, again, fun. Like, not
mhm.
scary, but it's fun.
it it wasn't scary, but the opening was so del Toro though, where it's like this guy taken to a blood clinic and he's being captured by vampires, and you get Del. If nothing else, God damn it, I wish Del Toro would just like be an advisor to people on making monsters, because when the mouth opened up on the guy and like he started killing the vampires, and it just set off like, oh, okay, this is gonna be an interesting movie, and like 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 I was like genuinely surprised by the hook. Like I was a younger man back then, but uh, like that one was that was so pleasant.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I enjoy them as a monster, and that's why I think like What We Do in the Shadows is so incredible because you're taking this thing that I'm already not afraid of, but they have this cool all the rules that they have to follow and all the like the old mythos and I've probably watched Bela Lugosi's Dracula a million times just because his styling is very iconic for me. Um, it's any of the like Universal monsters I think are kind of always fun here and there, but I don't need 10 movies about them.
Okay, I have to ask you this: what is because I'm sure you've had at least or considered having all the subscription service for content, Netflix, Hulu. Were you rocking with Shutter at any time?
I do like Shudder. I am personally mad at them in that I used to go up to their New York Comic Con booth every year and tell them, why don't you have a PS4 app yet? Um,
I feel like the PS4 is the biggest pain in the ass because DC
that's
Universe didn't have one,
that's
and
the answer.
mhm,
It's because they like require like a bunch of stuff, and I don't know. I don't think the Shudder team's very big. I think
I
though, even though they're a subsidy, I think, like AMC owns Shudder. I think.
I don't know. Jeez, the and Amazon Prime for like
So I would say Amazon. I've had some really fun. If you're someone that's okay with indie horror, well, wait, are we talking about free content only, or also paid stuff on Amazon? Because that's kind of not fair then, right?
Amazon has a double paywall on horror too, because they used to have one on anime with Anime Strike, and then they got rid of it.
Well, okay, so technically you can get Shudder through Amazon, but it's not really the same. But I would say, okay, so if you were just doing like if you have Amazon Prime, right? So and you have access to the regular free Amazon content, there's some really fun indie movies on there. I've probably had a lot more pleasant surprises through there than I have on Netflix. There's been a couple. Like there's a movie called Grave Encounters, which is hilarious and wonderful. Um, there's a series called Bad Ben, which is also hilarious and wonderful. It's one guy. There's another one. Actually, these are actually all funny. They're all like found footage. There's another one called Leaving DC. It's all like low budget. It's like somebody with their own camera who made this thing. Except Grave Encounters is a bigger budget, but it's very like someone had an idea and they were determined to make it, and they because they loved their idea, the movie's good. You know?
That that right there is like the key to any good movie, but especially horror, just because horror requires vision. I think more so than any other genre. Like I feel like if you have a vision, because comedy like sight gags work, but you don't necessarily have to be a visionary to do. Like I feel like the most visionary sight gags are like from the silent age, because like you have like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, but but with horror you have to okay like there's shadows here, there's shadows there. We see this guy off in the distance. Um, like it's because you also have to like with horror not show things, and I
Yep.
feel like restraint is uh like so like horror restraint in comedy and horror are the two most important things, because if you like kill a joke uh or or if you have too many kills in a movie, at which like that's why I never liked the Hostel movies. There was just too. I feel like Hostel was just like,
The
oh, you
torture
like
porn.
kills?
Yeah.
Here we go. So, uh,
Yeah, so I think Amazon Prime is the like you can dig through stuff and find some things and like, everyone has different tastes. I like a lot of the like paranormal stuff, but other people maybe like exorcism stuff more or, whatever.
I don't know the exorcism stuff. I I feel like it works better with low budget, uh, because like if you have like one person if you have two good actors like playing against each other, and the director doesn't uh, get in the way of it, uh, because like the best stuff with the Exorcist, which is probably the most famous exorcism movie. It's literally called The Exorcist.
It better be the
Uh,
most famous.
well, the when the uh, the best bit of directing I think in that movie for scary was when the was it the mother's voice coming out of the kid that the demon was doing.
Pazuzu?
Well, not just the voice of the because that was her voice, right? They just ran it through a whole bunch of filters and played it back differently.
I don't know.
Well,
Probably.
well, there was this one there was this one part where there's no way the kid knows this stuff. Like he's either talking about the priest or whatever, and it's like I can't even quote it, but it was just like it's the stuff that like cuts you. Like good writing cuts you. Like it's like okay, that caught my attention. So
Yeah, like that something's just wrong. The wrongness of it.
hmm
My
the
my favorite exorcism, well, maybe not my favorite one. I do really love it. I don't know if you've seen. I think it's called. So many movies have similar names now, but I'm pretty sure it's The Taking of Deborah Logan. The something of Deborah Logan.
was that a found footage film
No,
or
it's a
or I don't want to say found footage, but like someone there was this one exorcism movie where it's all handy cam, like actually like if people are actually looking into the camera as if like it's being documented.
and it's an exorcism.
it's from a long time ago, over 10 years ago, and like they're not sure if it's an exorcism or if because like there's these people that are they walk in on an exorcism and they think it's abuse and they think the girl has a psychological issue, so it's a question going back and forth. And I feel like there's a sequel to it that just completely ruined and ripped off the magic, because that's one another thing that studios like to do. They take a really good movie, they make a sequel of it that has nothing to do with the actual original movie, but it's like same principle.
Well, I think that taking a Deborah Logan, I don't know if it's completely found footage. Maybe it is.
Let
I
me
think,
look this up.
but I don't remember it having a sequel. That one's about like an old woman though, which is it's about. I mean, I don't know. Like, are there spoilers? Am I allowed to say whatever I want?
Oh, go ahead.
It's basically you're watching it and it's Alzheimer's, and so like my grandmother has Alzheimer's, so I'm watching it and it's like she's doing these weird things, but like my grandma did weird stuff too. Like they would do these things that because they thought they were 50 years ago, so they're reenacting this thing in the middle of the night. And I really, really loved it because it wasn't obvious. It was kind of like you could see where they're thinking she just has Alzheimer's, you know? Um, so I thought that played really beautifully.
Okay, well, a thought just occurred to me. How'd you like the what's that called? Inheritance? No. Um, Inherit? No. What that was that? God damn it! The guy that did Midsummer before he
Oh,
did
oh my God.
Hereditary.
Yeah.
Hereditary.
I, eh, it was okay. I also felt that same way about Midsummer. Like really slow burn movies like that are hard on me, no matter what the genre.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I laughed at the scene when the little girl's head. Uh,
Okay.
that was my friend. We were in the movie theater. My friend hit me because I started laughing because it was like, and it wasn't like laughing because it happened. It was laughing because they did it and they showed it. And I was like, oh, because usually, they don't show things like that with children. Um,
Now, okay, I have to ask this at this point because opportunity just presented itself. When you were watching movies that are intended to scare people, like if like the horror fan that you are, like do you get to a point where like things like that where like you're just laughing inappropriately or like bored, like when everybody like I like there's this meme uh back in 4chan days or whatever, that it's like you would have like over here everyone is all bored or whatever, then over here you have like the one person from that one channel that would be very excited for it, so that you're like the inverse of that, like everyone's excited for or affect, like what affects you these days, like does it take more or less?
so it's hard because one, physically, I am anxious, so you throw a loud sound effect at me, I will physically react, but like in my head, I'm like, whatever. It's like I'm not scared. You just hurt my ears, so I flinched. The things that like stay with me are usually the ones that aren't so forced, that also feel like they're in a universe that it could be in the universe that you live in. Like I remember the first time I saw like the Ring remake. Um, that was terrifying. Um,
I bet
it's
everybody
hard.
was so happy that they got DVDs immediately after that.
Oh yeah. Oh
Throw
yeah.
throw out that VCR.
I mean, now it's hard. Now what makes me happy is if I can watch a movie and it's something new, um, and it's because a lot of times I can go, oh, and then this is gonna happen, and then it happens, and then and then they're gonna okay, I don't enjoy that, even if it's high production. It's like the formulaic stuff is really, really boring. I want to see new things. New things excite me, even if it's not like the ending sucks or this actor's terrible. It's like, yeah, but if I can kind of see what they were going for, that makes me happy.
How'd you like the second season of Haunting on Netflix?
No, bad.
Yeah, because I feel like they managed to pull it off with the first season a little bit, even though like there were so many, like I texted you, like there were so many tropes on display going into that I was like, oh, this woman, she had a black husband. Oh, something bad's gonna happen. Oh, of course, there it was. Oh, uh, like there was some, like it was done well. Like I will not fault that series. Like that production value is so good, but when you're adapting like 100-year-old stories and 100+ year old stories, like they did the turning of the screw for the second season. Like I looked it up, that thing's been adapted like 20 times in different movies, and it I
They really didn't push it anywhere new.
they didn't push it anywhere. And I will give them credit for this though. Like they just like, oh, if anybody who's a Henry James fan, come on down because this is for you. And I didn't even know who that was. Like I figured out like how old George Bernard Shaw is while researching it, because apparently George Bernard Shaw was like a contemporary of Henry James. And because you know how like a name but you don't know a goddamn thing that they're famous for.
Yep.
George Bernard Shaw, I've been around enough people that have either mentioned writing or comedy or plays, and I had no idea what the hell he did, and then I now I know what era he lived in. So,
Oh, that's good research.
well, because you remember a couple, like it was, I almost said a couple years. It was earlier this year. The Turning with Finn Wolfhard.
Yes, I like
Like,
him.
yeah, well, he was in that movie was based on the book, and like they didn't do the same things, but like there was one episode that was an entire adaptation of like in another separate story of Henry James, which is Love for Old Clothes, and then Owen Wingrave was like a short story that they did, and that might have been my favorite one, like the episode with Uncle Owen.
I liked Owen a lot.
He was the perfect horror protagonist. It's like clearly this guy has issues, and like his doppelganger that he was talking to,
Mm-hmm.
like that, like that to me was probably the best part of it for me, because like okay, like it's just a man smiling and it's himself, and it's just like, oh, like this is everything that you hate about yourself and we're gonna go through it every night. So he's like living in hell literally, compared to all the other characters.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I know that the first season, everybody I think loved all the background ghosts that you didn't even know were there in the first place until either someone told you or you saw a couple, and then you were like, oh my god, they're everywhere. In this one, they did it a little bit, but the ghosts, they weren't malicious, so they didn't. It's like, oh, there's the plague doctor just standing there. Okay, cool.
There were
Or,
so yeah, there were so many in the background, and if they didn't explain it and they just left it there, and plus it was either first or second episode where they go down to the basement and then the doll moves, or like I was like, come on, like you're making it easy.
mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah,
last
that's
two,
not what I want. I want the oh god, like when your eyes focus on something else without prompt. That's
mhm,
much scarier.
yeah, and because first season I didn't even notice half those ghosts. Like I noticed maybe one or two, and then when all 37 come out at the end, it's like, oh, okay, this was a little freaky. But then it the thing I have to tell myself about the second season is that like the uh, there's an old genre called gothic romance that you don't hear about too often. Like the last time I ever heard the term was with what was that Del Toro movie with uh, Charlie Hunnam and
I know what you're talking
Loki?
about. I can't remember the name of it.
Did you see it?
I did. My friend loves that. She loves that old like gothic horror stuff, and I usually they bore me to tears. But I went to go see that because of Del Toro. Oh God, what was that called?
Damn it! Thank God we have like second brains in our hands that search
Yeah,
the
right.
entire internet. Del Toro. Del Toro movies, and it is not Shape of Water. Jesus Christ. Crimson
Definitely
Peak.
not. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so did you watch Shape of Water?
You know, I always meant to, then just didn't. I don't know
Me
why.
neither. I think I know how it goes
I think that's what got me too. I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
because like it's either going to go one way or another, and I don't think it's going to go the other. And then I found out like, oh, it went the way I thought it was going to go. Okay, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And besides, like, I will give him a chance with anything. However, uh, like I can't see a trailer, and if I know how it ends, it's like for example, my dad wanted to see the new Liam Neeson movie. I saw the trailer. I know how that movie goes.
You know, I don't know why they're cutting trailers the way they do now. I can't. I just stop watching them. I just don't watch them because they
They are
show. Well,
horrible.
if it's a horror movie with a monster, guess what? They're gonna show you the monster. They're probably gonna show you who the killer is. If it's a slasher, like they show you. If it's an action movie, here's the end explosion. It's like, why are you doing this?
I feel like as a rule, studios should make it so that anything past the 34th percent mark, so anything from 0 to 33% of the movie, you could show. Like that's all setting up the premise. Anything past that, like except for maybe one stunt, you get one stunt that's because like I feel like the perfect trailer was Dark Knight. When the Dark Knight trailer dropped, like, all right, Joker's voice, we see Joker. We don't see a lot of things, and then we see the truck flip, and then it pretty much follows all the rules of how to make a trailer. Like, ask a question, answer a question, like scary music, or the truck flips, right, in theaters coming soon. Like,
Yeah, like a more what they call teasers now are all I want from a trailer at all. Like I tell me this tone of the movie
mhm.
and kind of maybe what it's about, like basic on a very basal level, and then that's it. And then shut up.
Like the new Vince Vaughn movie that's coming out. It's basically Freaky Friday all over again.
Yeah. You know, I'll watch that because I liked. Is it the same people that did Happy Death Day or no?
Yep.
I
Uh,
though in that movie was way better than that should have been. I should have hated Happy Death Day,
I'll
and I
even go as
didn't.
far as defending the Happy Death Day too. Like as bad as that one was, like there's like it had the fun because did you check out the Babysitter when it came out?
Yes, yes, I did.
That was a good horror movie, and it was like an inverse sort of deal. But the sequel
Not
said,
good.
well, it wasn't good, but it wasn't trying to be a horror movie though. Like I treated it straight as a comedy.
Yeah. You know, if I went into it thinking it was going to be like the first one, and I was like, oh, like okay.
I hope they make a third one and they bring back everybody and just like we're just gonna be more ridiculous.
If I knew that that's what it would be going into it, I'd probably be fine with it. It's just again, it's like tell me, set the tone for what I'm going to watch, and then I'm okay.
All right. Well, we've been recording for over an hour,
Is that good or bad? Sorry, too long.
right?
Oh,
Good conversations are like a time warp. So it's like, wait, we've only been doing it for how long? Okay, so I usually ask this. Anything you want to plug?
no, not the end of the world. Voting? I don't know.
Uh, uh, the person in me that enjoys salt says, "Oh yeah, go vote." Like, just don't ask someone voted for because
Agreed.
that's when the fight starts.
Yep, just do the thing. Just go vote.
And vote local too, because if you only vote on one thing, uh, you might as well just not vote at all.
I agree with that. all the way.
Okay. All right. So, let's end this now. All right. Thank you for joining us. This was a lot of fun.
It was.